The baby monitor flickered to life at exactly 3:15 in the afternoon, and what it captured in the next 30 minutes would leave doctors speechless and change everything we thought we knew about the bond between animals and humans. But before we show you what happened, if you love incredible true stories, smash that like button and subscribe so you never miss moments like these. Sarah Mitchell had installed the new camera system just 2 weeks earlier. Her 6-month-old daughter, Emma, had been diagnosed with a rare form of infant paralysis that left her unable to move her legs or lower body. The doctors called it temporary, but temporary had already stretched into 4 long months. Every morning, Sarah would place Emma on her therapy mat for tummy time, hoping against hope for any sign of movement, any flicker of progress. The German Shepherd puppy, Max, had arrived at their home 3 months ago, a gift from Sarah's sister, who believed animal therapy might help Emma's condition. At just 5 months old, Max was still clumsy and energetic, knocking over water bowls and chewing on furniture. Sarah's husband, Tom, had been skeptical about adding a puppy to their already stressful situation, but they decided to give it a chance.
That Tuesday afternoon started like any other. Sarah placed Emma on the blue therapy mat in the living room, surrounded by her colorful toys. Max trotted over immediately, his tail wagging as he always did when Emma was on the floor. Sarah checked the baby monitor app on her phone, making sure the camera angle captured the entire mat, then headed to the kitchen to prepare Emma's afternoon bottle. What happened next, Sarah almost missed entirely. Through the monitor, Max began circling Emma slowly, his puppy clumsiness replaced by something almost methodical. He sniffed at her tiny pink socks, then gently nudged her left foot with his nose. Emma giggled, her bright blue eyes following the puppy's movements. Max sat down directly in front of her feet, staring at them with an intensity Sarah had never seen in the playful pup before. Then Max did something extraordinary. He placed his front paw on Emma's left foot, applying gentle pressure, then released it. He repeated this motion over and over, like a rhythmic massage. Emma's giggles turned to fascinated coos. Sarah, still in the kitchen, heard her daughter's sounds and smiled, assuming it was just normal playtime.
But Max wasn't playing. The puppy moved to Emma's right foot, repeating the same pressing motion. 1 press, release. 2 presses, release. 3 presses, release. His movements were deliberate, almost as if he was following some instinctive physical therapy protocol that no one had taught him. For 10 minutes, Max continued this pattern. Press the left foot, press the right foot, wait, then repeat. Emma remained calm throughout, more focused than Sarah had ever seen her during actual physical therapy sessions. The baby's eyes never left Max's face, as if she understood something important was happening. Then, at 3:27 in the afternoon, it happened. Emma's right toe twitched. It was barely visible, just the smallest movement of her tiny toe inside her pink sock, but it moved. Max saw it immediately. His ears perked up, and his tail began wagging faster. He pressed her foot again, this time with slightly more pressure, and Emma's entire foot flexed. Max barked once, a sharp, excited sound that brought Sarah running from the kitchen. Before we continue our story, let's take just 5 seconds. If this story is touching your heart, please press the like button. subscribe to the channel, and stay with us because many more beautiful stories are coming. Thank you, my dear friend. Now, let us continue. "What's wrong?" Sarah called out, her heart racing as she rushed into the living room. But when she looked down at the therapy mat, everything seemed normal. Emma was smiling up at her, and Max was sitting proudly beside the baby, his tail sweeping across the floor. "Just playing, I guess," Sarah murmured, checking Emma over carefully. She noticed her daughter seemed more alert than usual, her cheeks flushed with color. Sarah made a mental note to check the camera footage later, then picked Emma up for her bottle. That evening, after Emma was asleep, Sarah sat down with her laptop to review the day's camera footage. She often watched clips of Emma's solo playtime, looking for any signs of progress that the doctors might want to see. When she reached the 3:15 timestamp, she leaned closer to the screen, her coffee growing cold in her hand. "Tom," she called out, her voice shaking. "Tom, you need to see this right now." Her husband came running, worried by the tone in her voice. Together they watched the footage. They watched Max's methodical pressing pattern. They watched Emma's toe twitch. They watched it again and again. "Is that what I think it is?" Tom whispered, his hand covering his mouth. "Her toe moved, Tom. It actually moved." They stayed up until midnight, watching the clip from every angle the camera had captured, zooming in, slowing down the playback. There was no denying it. Emma's toe had moved, and it happened right after Max's gentle pressure therapy. The next morning, Sarah called Dr. Peterson, Emma's neurologist. She tried to explain what the camera had captured, but even to her own ears, it sounded far-fetched. A puppy doing physical therapy? A spontaneous toe movement after months of paralysis? Dr. Peterson agreed to review the footage, more out of kindness than actual belief. 2 days later, Dr. Peterson called back. His voice was different, excited in a way Sarah had never heard from the typically reserved neurologist. "Mrs. Mitchell, I've consulted with 3 colleagues and we've all reviewed your video multiple times. What your puppy was doing is remarkably similar to a technique called rhythmic pressure therapy. It's used to stimulate neural pathways in paralysis patients. The pressure pattern Max used is almost identical to what we would do manually in a clinical setting. And yes, we clearly see Emma's toe movement in response." Sarah's hand trembled as she held the phone. "What does this mean?" "It means we want to see Emma tomorrow and bring Max." The appointment the following day was unlike any other they'd had. Dr. Peterson's team set up cameras around an examination mat, placing Emma in her usual tummy time position. Then they brought Max in. The puppy, sensing the importance of the moment despite the unfamiliar setting, walked straight to Emma and began his routine. Press, release, press, release, left foot, right foot. Within minutes, Emma's toes began twitching. Then, as everyone in the room held their breath, her right foot flexed completely. A nurse gasped. Dr. Peterson scribbled notes frantically. Tom squeezed Sarah's hand so hard it hurt, but she didn't care. "This is remarkable," Dr. Peterson said, kneeling beside the mat. "The neural response we're seeing is significant. Whatever Max is doing, it's stimulating pathways we've been trying to reach for months with conventional therapy." Over the next 3 weeks, Max became part of Emma's official therapy routine. Every afternoon at 3:15, he would perform his pressure therapy while cameras recorded every session. Emma's progress accelerated in ways that astonished her medical team. First, her toes began moving regularly, then her feet. By week 4, she could flex her ankles. The breakthrough came on a Sunday morning. Sarah and Tom were having breakfast when they heard Emma babbling from the living room. They rushed in to find Max beside her on the mat, and Emma, their beautiful baby girl who hadn't moved her legs in 5 months, was kicking her feet in the air. Sarah collapsed to her knees, tears streaming down her face. Tom pulled out his phone, capturing the moment while calling for his wife to look. Emma, seeing her parents' joy, kicked harder, her little legs pumping as if making up for lost time. Max sat proudly beside her, his tail wagging, occasionally licking her face, as if to say, "See, I told you that you could do it." Dr. Peterson later explained that the combination of Max's consistent pressure therapy, the emotional bond between the puppy and Emma, and the baby's natural healing process had created perfect conditions for neural pathway recovery. The rhythmic stimulation had essentially reminded Emma's nervous system how to send signals to her legs.
In all my years of pediatric neurology, Dr. Peterson told them, I've never seen anything quite like this. The medical literature has documented animal-assisted therapy benefits, but nothing this direct, this measurable. Max wasn't just providing emotional support, he was actively treating her condition with a precision we couldn't achieve ourselves. 3 months later, Emma was crawling. 6 months later, she took her first steps, with Max walking beside her, matching her pace. The camera footage from that day shows the puppy staying close, ready to catch her if she stumbled, his body always positioned to provide support. Sarah uploaded selected clips to a private YouTube channel to share with family, but word spread through Emma's medical team. Dr. Peterson asked permission to present the case at a pediatric neurology conference, where the footage left hundreds of doctors stunned. The response was overwhelming, with medical professionals from around the world reaching out to learn more about Max's instinctive therapy technique. The Mitchells never sought fame for their story, but they agreed to share it widely in hopes it might help other families dealing with infant paralysis. They wanted parents to know that sometimes hope comes from unexpected places, that healing can have 4 legs and a wagging tail, and that the bond between a child and an animal can be more powerful than anyone imagined.
Today, Emma is a healthy, active toddler who runs through the house with Max chasing after her, no longer her therapist, but simply her best friend. The cameras still record their playtime, though now it's just to capture normal childhood memories. But Sarah keeps that original footage saved in multiple places, the 30-minute video that changed everything. The moment a puppy somehow knew exactly what a paralyzed baby needed. The doctors still can't fully explain Max's instinctive knowledge or why his specific technique worked so effectively. Some call it animal intuition. Others suggest Max sensed Emma's condition in ways humans couldn't and responded with an innate desire to help. Whatever the explanation, the camera-recorded evidence is undeniable. Emma's miracle wasn't a sudden divine intervention or an experimental drug. It was the patient, consistent love of a clumsy puppy who refused to see a baby who couldn't move her legs and instead saw a friend who just needed the right kind of help. If you found this incredible true story as moving as we did, please hit that like button and subscribe to our channel for more amazing real-life stories. Drop a comment below and tell us about any incredible animal bonds you've witnessed. Have you experienced the healing power of a pet? Share your story with our community. And remember, sometimes the most extraordinary miracles come with wagging tails and wet noses. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.